Face front, true believers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Rohith.
And we're back. Talking a sequel this time. We're talking The Marvels. Yes, the brand spanking new MCU film. I mean, we're coming off the finale of Loki. We're talking more Marvel and specifically Marvels with Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, who's a little undecided about her name, but let's just call her Photon just for giggles. Yes, Marvel presents The Marvels, says one anonymous commenter. So, Rohit, what do you think?
I think ultimately the movie's okay. It's fine. It's not as bad as I felt people were making it out to be. It's not great. It's not even good. I think it's for what it is. I think the movie does really well when it embraces sort of the goofiness and the campiness that's prominent in parts of the film, and when it's just so focused on the three leads, like Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, Tiana Paris's Monica Rambeau, Iman Vellani's uh, Kamala Khan, just interacting and just kind of bouncing one another, chemistry, all that stuff. But when it gets into just like the plot, like the actual story or what's moving these characters along, it's pretty bare bones. It's pretty simple. The villain is pretty generic, and I think if the movie were less like, oh, here is the big, like this movie, if it focused less on, oh, this movie will advance the plot of the multiverse saga, and just focus on it be kind of a romp, I think the movie would be better served. But I don't think it's as a train wreck or it's like the end of the MCU or anything hyperbolic. I think for the humor, it is kind of the thing where it can be it'll likely be polarizing to audiences. I feel like the way people respond to this will be similar to how people respond to, say, Thor: Love and Thunder, The Flash, in terms of its humor. Obviously, if y'all have followed the Spoilercast for a while, I've been a fan and I appreciate a lot of the humor in those two movies, respectively. So, if your sensibilities align with mine in terms of humor, I think you can have a little bit of fun. And I will say, at the very least, I like this more than Captain Marvel. I think the Marvels does a decent enough job to make Carol Danvers seem a little bit more of a character. However, I think for, say, the interpersonal conflicts that could have been mired, it could have had a little bit of breathing room in terms of the runtime. And also, I think for people, at least if they're basing their expectations of the movie on the last trailer and kind of, you think about the story, if this could have been retooled to be more serious, more like Winter Soldier esque, not necessarily in terms of genre, but like setting, tone, and just like what it does for its title character, I think this movie could be retooled to a movie that like people would have more broadly liked. I think in this current form, there will be people who enjoy and like the campiness, goofiness of it, and enjoy it for the romp it is. For those that can't vibe or appreciate that kind of sensibilities, it may not be for them. And I think overall, it's serviceable, fine. Um, will I rewatch it a lot? Not necessarily, but if it's on, I'll watch it. And I think like when these characters are on and when they're just bouncing one another, it's magic. Everything else is serviceable to, like, I don't know if mediocre is the right word, but just moving the plot, like moving things along. It's nothing stand out. So yeah.
Yeah, so I was very sold on the trailer for this. I thought I had a real I don't know, I can't really describe what it is. I think just the song choice and just kind of the energy of the trailer and the fact that honestly what we've been doing with the Disney Plus series is we've been kind of building hopefully a kind of a redemption or of sorts for Captain Marvel, and that I feel aside from her introductory film, she has been. It's kind of hard to say like she has been because she's only really appeared in Endgame, so it's not really a huge barometer to really measure by. I mean, aside from like bits and pieces like Shang-Chi and so on and so forth, but I think we've been doing a lot of damage control in a good way for for Captain Marvel. We've been building her back up through kind of the side, basically the other characters in this movie in other places. Like, we've had WandaVision, we've had Miss Marvel, who did a lot of damage control for that film. It's been building interest. I was very interested to see those characters, and I've invested in those characters. Like, okay, this is giving. I'll take another bite at the apple for Captain Marvel because they put in the legwork, and especially with Miss Marvel, which I loved her. I think we all collectively really love her. I think she's kind of leaped off the page. Admittedly, she's not quite doing the embiggening verbatim, but it's still the hard light thing's pretty cool. So yeah, and I think Brie Larson has kind of shined in kind of ensemble pieces versus kind of like your solo pieces. So I mean, admittedly, Secret Invasion did some damage to this plot ultimately a little bit, a little bit. But I essentially I came in with low expectations. I had a good trailer, seemed pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It was mainly going to be like, okay, here's kind of our new status quo with the Captain Marvel side of things. We've re-energized with kind of our fun side characters, kind of filling basically for me ultimately delivering on what I was really lacking from the Captain Marvel movie, which was the kind of the personal side of Carol Danvers. Because I mean, for me, I'll hit on it again later. Is that the core flaw I had with Captain Marvel's characterization, and I'm not a ride or die for Captain Marvel. I mean, I was familiar with her mostly as Miss Marvel days, not really her taking on the mantle, but essentially we made a big deal about Carol Danvers' past in the Captain Marvel movie, and that it was a big deal, it was a missing piece of her, and we had all this little flashbacks and everything, and it seemed to be a big deal. And her real name is Carol Danvers. It's not just Veers, all that stuff, which is very transparent. But just go with me on this. Ultimately, all of that was for a very, very lackluster payoff, and it was like by the time we got, it was like way too late in the game, way too late in the story. I'm supposed to invest in this character. I'm only getting the surface level. Okay, she's cool. She's got like needs power set, a little fish out of water thing with Nick Fury. I like that, but it's just not much in terms of there's no cave moment for her. There's no her having a Yinsen in a cave. We're not quite getting that. So I went into this with just expectations of anything we can do would be an improvement from there. It was I just wanted a fun time and for Captain Marvel to meet the other two characters, and I did get that. It was very very economically paced. One could say maybe too well paced. The characters are good. Plot's thin, or either thin or severely trimmed. I can't say one way or another, but unfortunately, it does seem to have brought back the old villain problem of the MCU. The old thing of I've defended a lot of these villains over the years, but overall, it does feel to be that thing where, and we'll get into it later, but it feels like we kind of have an underdeveloped plot for why the villain wants what they want, and there's not a lot of screen presence or viability there. And again, we'll unpack that as we go on. Anyway, so it's a step in the right direction for Captain Marvel, which we kind of had with Endgame. So it feels like we're still stepping in the right direction with her. It still feels a little, it still feels like aside. It feels a little bit more like this movie was more had more style and voice than the first film, which I did appreciate. So I don't think we're fully there yet, but we are touching on Carol and in ways that I think connects more, in which you're connecting more with the character, which I think is big for her. I don't think we quite necessarily stuck the landing with her in terms of answering the question, what the heck was she doing for 30 years? But we'll I don't know. We'll see. I think we're just going to build from here, and I'm hoping it kind of ends up being like a Doctor Strange thing. The more we see the character, the more we like the character. And with Doctor Strange, I don't mean like he was a hard sell from the beginning. I just mean he started pretty solidly, and then he got better and better each little appearance he had going forward. So all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have comments. I guess let's break a few of these down here. Little Blue earlier on is asking. You'll talk about the end credit scenes later on in the stream. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, unless Rohit, you really want to get to it, I think we'll probably just gonna wait on that. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we'll wait on them because I think there's enough stuff to talk about in the main film itself. Yeah. I think the extra credit scene, the post credit scenes will be sort of a nice little bow at the end.
I'm just gonna summarize Richard's victim's points here. He's not quite feeling the movie. Plot is anorexic. Yeah. Let's see. Code Geass anime fan. Marvel's has been the lowest opening weekend of any MC film. Again, folks, just the movies aren't going to make as much money as they used to. All right, let's just accept that and move on. I hate bringing up the box office of these movies because they're all going to do terrible. Again, we suffer like a huge drop off because of the pandemic and building up from that. It's going to take a lot to really get numbers back to the historic grosses that they once were. It's
Yeah,
not going to fix
and
itself.
it's not really, and the thing is, it's not just Marvel. It's really majority of the film industry temples, especially Disney and all that stuff. But here's sort of the big picture thing. Even though Marvel's not doing as well as it usually does box office wise, even its lows. Any studio worth its salt would kill to have even a bad Marvel year box office.
True.
So that's not to say that for people that are not satisfied with the direction or certain quality of films or projects, they're well within the right to ask more from Marvel and how Marvel can interpret that and what it is what it is that fans are asking them to do and recontextualize, retool, what have you, to satisfy those commands, whatnot. That's like a bigger conversation that fans will probably get into more and more within the next few years. So with that,
all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just dive right into it. Let's begin. So I guess maybe to start things off here again, I guess maybe with our character reintroductions here, because we are checking in with these characters after big things have kind of happened with them. So I mean, overall, Carol, she's. I think this approach from right from the get go is a lot more personable. It's given me a lot more what I wanted from the original Captain Marvel film. Like we see her, okay, so she's kind of this lonely lady, kind of living in space with her cat, and she's kind of like doing space stuff, and like that's, I don't know, something a lot more just kind of like somewhat relatable there. Just she's just kind of, she's still in contact with Nick Fury, and she's just kind of like, she's kind of benched for the big stuff in space to help him out.
I mean, it helps that she has her memories. That's I think that's I really think Captain Marvel made the biggest mistake in having amnesia plot, because for the first female character, like superhero, leading her own film, it's what was it? I just lost my. Oh, it's with the amnesia, with the first female superhero film with Marvel. You want to have the female character be easily defined, easily relatable, all that stuff. And with the amnesia plot, you're kind of in the back foot, just gradually learning stuff, about Carol and the way that the exposition is done. It was all clunky, all that stuff. And I think just for this, like the Marvels, like if even after seeing Captain Marvel and not liking it as much, I got what Carol was coming from. I got her sense of her personality, the way she interacts with people, her like moral code, all that. And I appreciate that Brie Larson, an actress who's gone through all the stuff that she's gone through in this past few years. I'm glad that she's able to like put her personality into this character. Like I feel like if people were to see this from the jump, I think not to say she's like will be an instant like fan favorite in the same degree as like Natasha, Wanda, or even Kate Bishop, but I think she will like have enough in her that's like, oh, I'd like to see more. And then, like you said, with Doctor Strange, the more she's exposed, especially with the personality that's set up, the more she gets, developed and more interest, and just more likable. And I think with this, Brie Larson, I'm glad she's. It's funny because like people were like, oh, like when the title changed from Captain Marvel to the Marvels, it's like, oh, like Captain Marvel's being demoted and just be one of the three. If anything, I think this is a really good move on the part of Marvel, because I feel like Carol Danvers, if she didn't have Iman Vellani's Kamala and Monica Rambeau, she would just have what, Nick Fury? Like it'd be like, I think for such a powerful character, you really need to have her personality be defined, so that way she doesn't run into the issues like, oh, she's super powerful and wins every time. Like you want like this, you get to see her personality defined. You get to see her having her personal conflict, even though it's resolved a little too neatly, you know, in the middle of the movie. But the fact that she does have like some tensions, some like moments where like, oh, this is someone you would know in your real life. I really like that on writing level and especially in an acting level. I hope like Brie Larson, you know, with all the shows she's been through, she stays on and gets to shine with and had this kind of personality among the rest of the MCU. So I think if she was like this in an Avengers movie, I think she's an instant fan favorite.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I think we really got to know her through the interaction she had with the other characters. I think it kind of gave us an idea of like, okay, this is what this person's like now that she's a lot more, kind of complete. And she's gone through, the events of the first film. She's regained her memories, as you said. And yeah, it was, it's. I think it was a good omen from the start that okay, this is a lot more, kind of a slice of life thing. She's basically kind of this hero that's kind of stuck in the '90s in her personal life, which is kind of nice and refreshing and really, yet again, kind of a relatable thing. I think to a lot of the '90s generation. Um, let's see. So Monica, she's in space, like her aunt Carol, which is kind of the goal. She's adjusted to her powers at this point. She's working with Fury again, kind of following the footsteps of her mom and aunt. And she's now here's the most interesting about it is she's upset with Carol for being distant, which is a meta call out that's been a long time coming in a lot of this. And we've set up that there's some issues there, and the big thing, the reason it's meta is this thing of like we always it's like the classic thing we have with all of these movies in the connective universe. It's the age old question like why couldn't we go to this person for help? And sorry, it's like why couldn't we go to this person for help? And they're busy, they're doing other things, and you have like okay, then we introduce the super powerful Juggernaut who apparently was around the whole time we retroactively introduced, and like well where was she? And ending the Captain Marvel movie the way we did with like okay she's gonna help the Skrulls. Then we get a show like Secret Invasion, like, okay, why didn't she help the Skrulls? We're missing a lot of information. We do fill in some of these blanks here, but, I think the varying degrees of rationale. But at least there was an attempt at it, and more so we saw how it played on Monica.
Yeah, it was interesting the fact that she, by her like wanting to take the fight to the Kree, she put the Kree in a worse position, and I think it's certainly and retroactively, well, I think if you watch say Guardians of the Galaxy and how the Kree how like Ronan acted, his extremism I think kind of has a little bit more of a he's not just like, oh, he's not a religious extremist just because he's a religious extremist. So it's like with what we know in the Marvels, it's like, oh, he's coming from a society that had this happen to them. It's actually, if anything, it's even more surprising that more people like Ronan didn't pop up like and cause havoc throughout the entire galaxy.
Well, with Ronan, the thing you got to remember is this is a thing. Honestly, I kind of like. I think it went over my head after a while with Ronan because it is in Guardians and it is there, and I didn't like forget the line or anything, but I did kind of forget. I guess the connotations of the line is that Ronan was essentially, he was, he's a zealot. He's an offshoot of the Kree. He's not necessarily like he doesn't hold a role of prominence per se on Hala. He's he basically was like the Kree were raising their hands saying like, hey, he's not with us. He's your problem, but he's not with us. Okay, we can't act on this. So he wasn't like supposed to. It wasn't really representing like the Kree full on, but the Kree had tendencies that did align with what Ronan was thinking. So this guy's just.
I'm just thinking for the environment that Ronan is coming from.
I mean, you see what the environment that's going to breed him, yes, and we kind of saw a little bit in the in the Marvels, but we didn't really full on like it's interesting how we kind of take the accuser thing and how we interpret it through the MCU versus the comics. Traditionally, Roman's like he's like an actual judge and accuser on on Hala. And we've like most notably like the Fantastic Four, remember their run-ins with Ronan and stuff. But we're we kind of interpret that to, okay, he's basically a judge, jury, executioner type and representing the lifestyle of the Kree.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this zealot thing of like the way I always read Ronan from Guardians was that he he hated the Xandarian way of life because it was kind of like kind of a
A Kree
interspecies.
supremacist.
What?
A Kree supremacist.
Sure. He's a Kree supremacist. Yeah, he's all about. Well, basically, he hates the Xandarian way of life. He hates the idea that I think species can intermingle because Xandar had like all sorts of different species on that alien races on that planet.
Yeah.
And this kind of fits into like, James Gunn has kind of a thing against white supremacists of all sorts. If you look at like Peacemaker and stuff, so it tracks. It's kind of funny. It tracks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, let's see. So the big stand, of course, the fan favorite from this movie, for everything I'm hearing, I'm hard pressed to disagree. It is Kamala Khan. It's Miss Marvel. So you have a great animated sequence to introduce her. It feels like the show. It feels like something we would see in her show.
I was really surprised to seeing that. As like, oh man, this is like, I was so delighted because it's like, I remember, seeing the anime sequences at the beginning of the show, and then when they stopped, it's like, oh man, I kind of wish they continued on. And then when they showed up here, I was like, oh, this is just really cool. And I think it helps to, if you people like Miss Marvel in this movie and watch the Miss Marvel show, like that anime sequence is in the beginning of the show, so there's some level of continuity, artistically speaking.
Yeah. So we established like through that animated sequence, she has a fantasy encounter with her hero should she ever meet her, which she always kind of figured I guess was a long shot, but hopeful now she's kind of gone through the heroic arc. So they get entangled. Admittedly, the reason for the entanglement, look, it's a little thin again with the overall plot, but at least it ties into the Bangles. So at least there's something there. It's like where why is the other Bangle in space? I mean, did they say it was a Kree? Like it literally ties
No,
into
it's a
the Kree or
quantum band. They're quantum bands,
right? Quantum band.
and
Wait, so
ancient artifacts that were used to build the jump points that helped alien races connect and go through the galaxy without having the
no,
issue.
I do love. I want to say that I have really loved that in Guardians, specifically Guardians 2, we really did lay out how the space travel works with the quantum. I guess with the quantum jump points. Is that what we're calling quantum jump points?
This is just the jump point.
Okay, well, I've always liked the jump point idea. And honestly, I've suggested in the past, like every time there's a Fantastic Four pitch, that the jump points would be essentially it'd be kind of a combination of what we did in the first Captain Marvel movie and the jump points from Guardians, where it's like, what if the Fantastic Four, per the research that we had in Captain Marvel, basically, we use like the Tesseract energy to try and kind of do like I guess next gen space travel and everything. What if they basically tried to harness the power of the jump points using something like that? And basically, we saw what happened in Guardians 2 when Rocket, Yondu, and Groot, they basically went through too many jump points and they were kind of starting to distort and everything. My pitch was always, what if something like that caused the Fantastic Four? And by the time they get back, it's like after all the MCU's been built and then they arrive, like, what did we miss? And they're all Fantastic Four.
I would have. I really think it would. I mean, that would be interesting. I would just think, considering how like Monica got her.
The hex, getting it through.
Yeah, I think that would. I feel like because it's specifically CMBR, cosmic microwave background radiation, and in the Fantastic Four origin, they get exposed to cosmic rays. So you can tie those two things together. That like cosmic microwave background radiation, like just when those individuals can mutate and change and evolve them or make them mutate, quote unquote.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're far off from ultimately what we probably will do, because I mean, right now there's a lot of theories about how we're going to approach the Fantastic. I don't want to dwell and speculate on that like right this second, but let's just say there's quantum in some way, shape, or form might have a role in it. We've kind of like we've had the quantum entanglement. We've had like the Monica's powers kind of doing some stuff by the end of this film that may correlate with how she got her powers. So you never know. I mean, hopefully we'll find out in roughly 2 years, but hopefully, we'll see. Anyway, but yeah, so you're right. So we have the quantum bands. That's a nice kind of connect to that, but I do wonder like how the heck they end up there though. That's kind of, we don't need to know these facts, but it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of like how these very important items just kind of are buried on a random planet, like an archaeological thing, and yet one of them ends up being mailed to Kamala. So I don't know. I mean, the only logic I really have, if anything, is that I guess using the traveling component of the quantum bands, one of them ended up just being sent else far, far away for security purposes or safety purposes, and that's how it ended up on Earth. To guess.
Yeah.
Anywho, point being, we get entangled, and we have this neat little, almost Fantastic Four, Rise of Silver Surfer kind of gimmick here, where we're having like power switches and everything. Well, sorry, not power switches in this case, but you know what I mean. It's almost like an instantaneous sort of like dynamic between the team, and they're kind of entangled in a different way in that movie. And here we're entangled, which is basically they're literally swapping places through space and time. Which it does occur to me, Rohit. And I assume it occurred to you as well Captain Marvel gets her powers from the Tesseract.
Correct.
So it would stand to reason that like being like essentially the space like the space stone that might have something to do with why specifically they are quantum entangled the way they are. I don't know. It's like a space travel sort of thing. It's between that and the Bengals. I like all these factors are kind of like there's like a bit of like a kind of like a logic in that they are doing a similar thing to some degree. Is that making any sense? Or
Wait, just you say the last part.
yeah, I like that they're all making sense. They all make sense or do something similar to some degree. Where it's like once like Captain Marvel with the Tesseract. We have barriers and everything with Monica, and I don't know. So and the time traveling Bengal with Miss Marvel. So I like they're all kind of like doing something similar there.
Yeah, no, there's I do appreciate the MCU making some level of like sort of logic to if you're exposed to a certain stone of a certain quality, you get powers that are similar-ish enough in nature. Like Wanda with the Mind Stone, like has powers that affect the mind to a certain extent, but she also has like reality powers. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not always like you can get those powers, but other powers as well.
Yeah. All right. So the trio, they keep swapping, which I think the effect's really good, and I love how we demonstrated during the big house fight. I mean, I know it's more than it's three locations, a fight going on in three locations at the same time, but it's just I kind of call it the house for simplicity's sake. That's where the best stuff happens. It's a kinetic and fun sequence of three locations. We have a lot of fun things here. We have like Goose like eating people and freaking out Kamala. We have Kamala's family. It's
Yeah, I think I don't know if you've been you ever follow the development on this movie or interviews with Nia DaCosta. I remember distinctly Nia DaCosta mentioned in an interview that like she or at least when people were reporting on this movie is like, oh, there's going to be like anime inspired action sequences. So in seeing the movie, I definitely can see that kind of influence in terms of the kinetics of like fight scenes, especially like for Amon Villani when she's kind of like in the saber station, the way she moves is like, oh, like this is like anime, like not like cheesy anime, but like the way like the characters move, like there's like oomph to it to how they move. So I
yeah.
appreciated that.
Yeah. So here's the thing too. Initially, I was a little worried in the movie. I was going to call it BS. I'm like, oh wait a minute, they're using powers and they're not switching every second. This is a twofold thing. Okay, one, you understand the limitation of okay, if it's literally every use of the power, this movie's it's going to be they're going to be tripping over each other for an hour or 45 minutes. It's not going to work out well if they do literally every single power use. But I like that in the movie there is actually a good explanation for it. Okay, if they use their powers at the same time, that's when the switch happens. Like, okay,
Yeah,
we said in the movie we it wasn't like just like a blatant inconsistency or anything. So that's good.
yeah. No, and I think and that's actually kind of a good way to do that because then it's like you kind of as a team you have to learn how to coordinate with one another
Mhm.
and know like all right in this situation Kamala does her thing, Kamala does her thing, Monica does her thing, Carol does her thing, and then when we had to do it like at once, we had to be in certain places. So there's a in this being an ensemble movie and like the whole like switching back and forth, it places a lot of emphasis on communication and like knowing each other's like places on the battlefield or in a fight like really well. which I think with that sequence when they're like practicing like how to like be shifting from place to place, that was a really good sequence. And I think also like the chemistry and just like you really felt it was the actresses that were having fun with each other and all that
And the
stuff.
Beastie Boys song from the trailers playing, all that.
And and then doing like jump rope and all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's delightful, and it's like giving them some personality, and I think a lot. Again, I gotta be honest. A part of me fears like, had Miss Marvel not happened, we would not be able to get away with something like this. I think the Miss Marvel show did a lot of good that doesn't get credit for where we could go with Captain Marvel. I'm just saying in terms of like where we started from and where I think Miss Marvel just kind of allowed it to like we could let's loosen up, let's have some fun with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. So okay, so I guess we should. I'm sorry, real quick though. I love the almost Amanda Show-esque concept initially before this great moment where Captain Marvel, like she flew all the way down from space to this house. I love the idea that initially it's almost like the Amanda Show with like Penelope Tate, who's Amanda, but it's Amanda Bynes playing the same role. So because of that, this character desperately wanted to meet Amanda, but she can't because she's the same actress. So I just like the idea that she's the big fangirl, much like Penelope Tate. However, it's this thing of like because of how the power thing initially works, like she'll never be able to meet her hero, but she's so darn close. To like the logic thing, like well she could just fly down there, and then she does. I don't know. I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Dar-Ben. Our baddie for the film, the lady with the hammer, is something like that. I wonder if this bothers you as much as to me. Why didn't we just? I know that's the name of the home planet, but in the comics, a character like this essentially is Hala, Hala the Accuser, the female Ronin. The Ronin is the lady with the hammer. I guess just also named after the home planet, but I don't think that'd be too bad a stretch. I mean, if you're going to give her at least a name or like a thing of honor, it would be Hala the Accuser. I've named myself after the planet. I don't know.
Or have the planet be like Kree or
yeah.
I mean, it's this is the after the comics. You bring it up with the comic book writers and artists that made that situation. So
yeah. Anyway, so I was already because I wanted this movie thinking, okay, it's gonna be Hollow the Accused, and it's like Dar-Ben. Well, that's a minor. That's just the name, right? That's just I think Hollow's better, but I don't know. I guess I get the flow there, but whatever. Point being,
Dar-Ben too close to Hela, right? Hala.
Yeah,
Hela.
I guess maybe it's. I mean, it's still Hollow though. It's like an established Kree thing, versus. But I'm saying we also have we have a thing about this. We have a number of Peters in this. In the MCU already, all right. I don't think it's that big a deal.
I mean, there's only just 2 Peters.
Are you sure? I could have sworn we've had like some ancillary Peters. Is it? No, it's just the big 2.
Yeah, I mean, in the comics, it's Peter Parker, Peter Quill, Fyodor Rasputin, Colossus.
Yeah, I mean, eventually we're gonna get Colossus. So,
and then Pete Wisdom from MI13.
All right, fine. I stand corrected. I'm saying we've had other characters with similar names, but I think there are other better examples, but Peter is the one that jumps to mind, so fair enough. Regardless. I'm saying plus, Hell's off the board anyway, so I mean, that's 2 phases ago. I think we can move on. Anyway, Dar-Ben, very flawed, underdeveloped bad guy here. Basically, she's weak sauce Ronin. She's Diet Coke Ronin the Accuser. She's it's frustrating. I don't look. I'm not just trying to dogpile on her here. It's just the fact that it feels like we have this whole disproportionate response thing going on here, where she has a relatable. I'm sorry, she has an understandable motive here. The motive's not bad, okay? It's not like but the problem with the motive is that the planet has been. Captain Marvel did a number on Hala. She did a number on the Kree homeworld and destroying the Supreme Intelligence, which is understandable. She has a grudge with the Supreme Intelligence. She wants to essentially help. It sounds like she initially wants to help the planet by destroying the Supreme Intelligence, which has ruined everyone's lives, including her own. Mm-hmm. Destroys it. And then seemingly has just kind of pieced out and left.
Yeah.
So giving consequence to Captain Marvel's actions, I think, is a good idea. I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
However, also another thing I mentioned too is I like that I like the bit of a there's a bit of a meta thing too with the whole like AI message of like there was this AI was ruining everything on the the Kree homeworld, not destroyed it. So a little AI Hollywood kind of thing there. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so she screwed over the Kree homeworld, and I think the problem here initially for me already is that we've made the whole Kree Skrull conflict since we pulled the switcheroo in Captain Marvel. We've made it maybe a little too one-sided. I know now at Secret Invasion we've added our bad Skrulls in there. At least our Skrulls gone rogue to become bad Skrulls. But I'm just saying we essentially the big reveal in Captain Marvel is that okay, so the Kree are the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Which it seems so. There's a question of sympathy here. Like, okay, the Kree overall, we've been given the impression through Ronan and through the Captain Marvel movie that Kree are bad. F them. Let the planet go up. Who cares? And I think that's already kind of an issue. I think the movie's dealing with. Well, okay, there's Captain Marvel disproportionate didn't want to like ruin like hurt all those people and destroy their planet. Just want to destroy the AI, and then it adds to the bigger kind of problem we have with Captain Marvel's character overall here, whereas like it took her that long just to talk with these guys or like check in on like it's just like I felt so bad I couldn't return for 30 years. It's like Carol, couldn't you just you've never talked to these guys? It's like a whole like we have peace treaties and like talks between the Skrulls and the Kree, and you
Well, it does Miss Marvel. I mean, yeah, excuse me. Does Carol have a part in those peace talks? So I feel like if anything, because it seems like that she is kind of just like it seems to me, from what I would gather and how this movie characterized like what happened in Hala from Carol's perspective, it seems that her destroying the Supreme Intelligence and just kind of the turmoil that the Kree fell into because of it, it probably scared Carol to have a very like limited role in galactic affairs. And because if in her mind, if she intervened, she what's to say she couldn't do anything worse than what she did in Hala, right? And like, cause
Right.
she's like beforehand, she's just like an Air Force, pilot, right? She doesn't have any formal diplomatic experience. She's not like a spy, any like sort of like statecraft, all that stuff. She's just like a power. She's just like she flies in, shoots beams, lifts stuff. Like she's a fighter. Like she should go out there and like fight the good fight. But like for larger like systemic social stuff, like if anything, I kind of that would be such. If anything, I feel like a more serious like retool a movie that maybe was like, all right, imagine if this happened, if Captain Marvel did this, and now like a factions or the Kree Empire are back with a vengeance, and they have a really strong justification to go after Carol or to hold her accountable for what she did. It would have been interesting for maybe Carol to like, okay, it's not just enough to be the most powerful, one of the most powerful like heroes in the universe. You have to have a level of intelligence, a level of like, you know, not that Carol was uncompassionate, but level of consideration for like the impacts that your presence can have on others. So, but I think with what it is, how the movie presented it, I think afterwards, I think Captain Marvel is probably, in her view, is more reactive, not proactively going out and you know interfering because in her mind she did that once and that already moved things. So I guess that's probably why Carol didn't go and like get involved in the big crises because she feels like if she does too much, she makes things worse. As she did in Hala. And so probably, maybe she's like, oh, there's like a natural disaster, she'll come and save the day. And that's what she does throughout the galaxy. But like for like armies that are about to invade, any big like invasions, like stuff like that, more organized forces, maybe she doesn't get involved because how she handled the Kree situation, it may, and also probably the word has spread around to other alien races, and maybe it's been this is me assuming it's not been said in the text, but the implication is like if this was so significant that caused so much turmoil, it's not only just Captain Marvel that has reservations about being involved in the wider galaxy, but it's other alien races that may, even if they're aligned with Captain Marvel morals and values. That's not to say things can change in terms of leadership and stuff like that. So there's no guarantee that for other alien races and groups, they won't feel uneasy about how involved Captain Marvel is. The whole Superman thing of like Superman can only save the day; he can't change or make the day. If that makes sense, he can't lead humanity or put humanity in like a glass jar or a box.
Yes. However, I gotta say this though. She is like on the scroll speed dial though, and they do call her in regardless anyway to like during this peace talk thing. Don't they? Don't they like call her like like
No, no, I
so
think
why does she show up there to help the scrolls? Like, what is it? Because
no,
they're
no, no,
tracking her. Like,
no, they like the. I think they were. I think like Carol is either I think one of I thought it was that they figured that Darabin would crash like the negotiations or no, I think they knew that Darabin was going to be at Tarnax as like the Kree representative doing the negotiations.
and the scrolls didn't pick up the phone.
As in that they communicated. Oh,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Did they try contacting
they
the
wanted me
scrolls saying, "Hey, someone bad's coming. She's gonna destroy the peace talks."
I guess even if they did, like, would that have made much of a difference, right?
I don't know. Would have given them a heads up that hey, someone's gonna
They-
try and kill all the scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they like, I can imagine the scene would have been played out as like, okay, like they're aware, and then the Kree, like scroll forces, like have guns trained on her, uses her power, defeats them all, starts what happened, and like ends the same way.
I get. I guess what I'm
It's
getting at, Rohit, is that even so, you look at this like the conflict was the way we've set up that conflict. It was pretty one-sided. Where okay, the Kree destroyed, the Kree wiped out the scrolls. Just we just kind of framed it like the Kree were the good guys in
no,
doing so.
yeah, it really, in retrospect, it should have been the Kree and Skrull should have been multifaceted alien races that have both good and bad individuals. So you can just it's like it's in classic science fiction, alien races outside of humanity are coded like good or bad, and then
Yeah.
in the past 20, 30 years, even like in recent Star Trek, like TNG, DS9, all that stuff, like there's more nuance, but it is kind of an easy trope for like science fiction to like, oh, alien race good, alien race bad. And I think for the MCU, had they done that, then it would have made, because I think because remember, Dragon, like when we start the movie, she's like buying the Kree propaganda, and she thinks the Skrulls are an enemy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they framed it from the Kree has framed it that okay, we're the we're in the right here. The scrolls are the ones that they're spread all over the galaxy. They're trying to take over planets. We're like, no, they're trying to find a home because the Kree have destroyed the scrolls' planets.
Yeah. But then after that, then it's like, okay, then whenever you interact with the Kree, if there's not any if there's not any Kree people that are actively wanting to reform, transition from an empire to a republic or whatnot, or wanting to help the Skrulls, like say Marvel in the MCU in like the Captain Marvel movie, then like Kree is just kind of automatically like a bad guy race, and it's really they become more generic than if done right, a multifaceted alien society that have its own
I guess what I'm saying is the way it's presented doesn't feel like we developed both races as we probably should have. And in turn, what we have, the end result of what we have here is okay. The Kree are pretty bad, and the Skrulls they only turned bad because they got tired of waiting for a new planet.
Yeah, I'm
just saying I'm just saying that's how it comes across, given everything that's happened and transpired and how Secret Invasion went down. Ultimately, that's essentially what our zero sum is there.
Yeah, I will concede that the MCU in terms like the Korean Scroll out of the concepts or ideas or like
corners of the universe.
Now, I can respect what they were going for in Captain Marvel with that initial, like the reveal there, but they have to have realized that in retrospect, maybe we kind of we may have eliminated a lot of our possibilities and just kind of making it kind of boxed in like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I guess my long-winded point of the road I was kind of going down there was that it feels like if we've already kind of like established it like that, it feels like it was like okay, so if Carol's very firmly on the Skrulls who have been clearly victimized,
Yeah.
you'd think we're just going to go after it. She'll be on Team Skrull, and we're just going to take out the Kree because she already rebelled against them in the first place and destroyed the AI that kind of made them do all that terrible stuff.
There's kind of like a like not a handicap, but a limitation of what you can do with the Kree, unless if you actively, it's like, hey, here are these like up and coming Kree people that are wanting to change, and there's the old people that want to keep with the old ways, and that tension's back.
Like it feels like we should have made a case in dialogue here that okay, hey, we've moved on past the supreme intelligence, and this is how we're rebuilding our society, and like we're not all bad. The computer made us do a lot of stuff, but that's like here's an example. We're not going the Star Trek route, which I think I agree, we probably should have. Where it's like, okay, for years we were following what this computer told us. Captain Marvel showed up and destroyed it. Yay! Bad news is she screwed over our planet in doing so. So we're just trying to survive.
There was a Civil War. There was a Civil War that occurred. And I think the Civil War like led to like the environmental conditions that happened.
Right. All right. Listen, she also did a lot of damage on the planet too, didn't she? Or is it just destroying the computer caused the Civil War? Is that what we're saying?
My understanding is that it could be the case that the Kree intelligence is like.
Because I mean, a Civil War is not going to destroy the sun like it did.
I think for the environmental stuff is from the Civil War, but I think it's because she destroyed the Kree from intelligence. There's no immediate successor, immediate authority. The Civil War happens, and then during the course of the Civil War, that's where the environmental damage comes to play.
So a lot of our backstory here, particularly the villain's motivation, really either got trimmed or wasn't developed enough in the first place, and it really shows because we're having these questions and we're a little unsure about certain things, certain leaps. And again, there is something interesting there, though, right?
And that's kind of where and that's where, to go back to my earlier point, it's like I feel like if this movie was a tool that was more serious, like Winter Soldier, like delving into like if Winter Soldier drove into the politics of the U.S. and the globe through S.H.I.E.L.D., like this movie, it was retooled in that same light. It could have focused on the politics of the galaxy through the Kree Empire, the Skrulls, and all that stuff. And that's where I say that like it seems that the movie shines. I think this movie is primarily focused on like the romp of it, the romp nature of it. Like the three like with the villain being as generic as it is, that's allowing more for the main leads to shine and to be the main focus, right? Like you're not here to them fighting against the bad guy. You're seeing them because you like these two actresses, you liked how they interact in interviews and all that stuff, and that kind of dynamic is replicated on screen, with cool visuals and action set pieces.
Yeah. Again, I do touch on a few things which are kind of interesting though. Like for example, Miss Marvel, she kind of saw casualties for the first time. She saw like a real situation. I love when superheroes save people. I love seeing Miss Marvel saving a bunch of Skrulls, but she also gets kind of a traumatizing event here where she sees a bunch of Skrulls that did not make it off the planet.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a sobering lesson for her there. That's kind of interesting, and also. Unfortunately, we don't really do anything with them, but Emperor Drogue, the Skrull Emperor. This guy, we mentioned him in the Secret Invasion. Ultimately, all the stuff we do Emperor Drogue here, it does very much feel like, a lot of people have made the case for perhaps if we had inverted Secret Invasion, or most likely done it after this, we might have had some more interesting places to go.
Mm-hmm.
Might have, because again, there's a lot of. It's not that necessarily things. I mean. Here's the thing: things kind of conflict, but they kind of don't. In that, okay, so Fury, obviously, Fury's back in his groove, as we can see looking at him. So that'd be a post-Secret Invasion thing. But we find us home rather easily for the Skrulls,
which is on Earth, but in New Asgard. which
It's pretty much what everyone, even our colleague, I think it was, I forget it was John Kelly. I think it was John Kelly. Even John Kelly kind of laid out that, well, yeah, why don't we just take them to the new Asgard? But the situation is very similar to the displaced Asgardians on
yeah,
the Earth. Why don't we just do that? And, well, they just did that.
and I guess it's like, and it'd be kind of interesting, like considering what happened in Secret Invasion, like the U.S. policy wise, is there going to be a project that like it loosely adapts Siege, and it's basically sieging New Asgard because they're holding scrolls? Like what that's kind of an interesting like geopolitical stuff that I don't think the MCU has really thought of the broader implications of, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a question of how much. Here's something to consider with the MCU and just the way it works going forward. At least I don't know the current state of it or where it's going. Is that when the Russo brothers were plotting these, they factored in everything. They considered everything. Like they had a big old board. They had all the characters, including the Netflix characters. Like they factored in everything, and then they kind of worked from there. Like, okay, what is something? What can we do? What are we allowed to do? Et cetera, et cetera. What do we have time to do? And nowadays, it feels like it's a question of, are they considering the things like we definitely know they did, like around phase 3? Like, are we considering all these possibilities and considering all this subject matter? But then it's like the limitations that play. Like, well, can we get a series for this? Can we get a movie for this? Right now we're having trouble getting this off the ground, or we got to start from scratch on this, or like, are we even going to have like the 6 episodes? That can be enough to do that, or like to have like a 3 hour, like a 2.5 hour movie. It's like constraints, I think, are being might like, are they having those conversations? Or are they just like, or are they kind of getting complacent, like, well, we just got to churn them out so we don't run out, so the
I
sun doesn't go down on us.
I mean, if I'm in reading the tea leaves as well as I can, I think the earlier part, when COVID hit and when there was a need for content, that was probably like one of the drivers. Not, I think, the main driver. I think with Disney Plus, like I think Feige, I would, if I was Feige, I would be interested in exploring parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe they couldn't explore through traditional film through TV. I think the mistake that was made, and I think Marvel had to kind of learn the hard way and now retool, is that you have to make TV and not like 6 hour movies. Movies and TVs have different aims, have different ways of being produced, and I think with the fact that they had not a showrunner but a head writer, and it was director manage and run rather
Yeah.
than writer run. TV is a writer's medium. Um, I think it makes sort of a lot of sense in how, for when the finales happen, people outside of Loki season 2, a lot of people have can always have an issue or two with the finale of each
Mhm.
plus show. And if maybe the writers were at the forefront of it from the start,
Or a consistent writer,
and
yeah.
and also like if it was like if there was a traditional writers room, like if TV was approached in the production style of TV, maybe we would had. And that's not to say you would have automatically like great shows, but maybe shows that are a little bit more consistent, maybe more cohesive. Maybe each episode feels like an episode of television, not like an like chunks of a movie, and thus you don't have like the thing where like people complain about certain episodes like dragging, certain episodes going too fast. Each episode is paced for the length that it needs to be, and you can watch each episode, be satisfied, and then watch all the episodes and be satisfied. So I think for Marvel particularly, when COVID hit and there was demand for content, they had to do it. Feige, with having a lot more projects than he had in the past decade, in the prior decade, his attentions were spread thin. Now, with both the writers and actor strike having long and there be delays, there's time for Marvel to sit down, reflect, think, and also with Iger coming back and with whole companies trying to rein in their budget, time their fiscal budgets, all that stuff. There's going to be a more renewed focus on streamlining stuff. And I think with streamlining stuff, Marvel can have not necessarily like they'll know everything, but they'll have a better grasp of like the bigger picture. But because there's not too many little pictures that add up, or
Right.
or it's like there's not any interruptions, so like there can be a flow that won't be hopefully interrupted by like some major calamity.
Certainly. So a few standout scenes we should probably mention. So one again, like them on the ship talking and figuring out the powers and the entanglement training, all that's great. Emotional scene, the scroll memory technology being used to reveal what happened with Mercer. This is some flashback stuff that was really effective and nice and kind of got the issues out for uh, for Monica and Carol. Seeing what happened to her mother and that Carol did go back and that's why the cat's with her in space. It's a sad scene. It's very, the fact that Kamala got to bear witness to this as well. So it was a nice, intimate kind of moment that helped bridge the gap and kind of called out like, that's we had like a nice performance thing versus like like the cheeky like, hey, a lot of other places had. I'm not taking a shot at Endgame here. I'm just saying that hey, a lot of other places didn't have you guys.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that we've always just we've given kind of a witty line for it before we really get to see like she left people behind, like this poor girl after losing her mother and everything, like her other mother figure is like not wasn't around, and she did not have a pager to she did not have the pager to summon her.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny like that Monica Rambeau considers her as like an aunt because like Tiona Paris. Let me just check if I'm accurate. They're trying to check the age. Yeah, it's funny that like because for both actresses, like Tiona Paris is actually just only 2 years older than Brie Larson, but it's kind of funny the dynamic like where Brie Larson's like the not parental, but like the adult caretaker figure in Monica's eyes.
Right. Well, it's also like the thing where like she doesn't age because of the cosmics, the Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So Fury and the Khan family. There's some nice comedy right now. Tiki is not here with us today, but he and I we're familiar with. We kind of know one of the actors in this movie. I don't mean we know just like know of him. I mean we we kind of we know people that have directed him.
Oh, the actor who plays is Kamala's brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's Sagar Shaikh. We tried getting him on and talking to him. We covered the stuff that he's been in, like pretty much his film catalog of comedy sketches. But yeah, he is. He had a podcast. He's an actor. He was on we're friends with a channel called Just Giggle It, and Joshua Thomas, and he and the company have like directed Sagar, and he's great. He's very funny. So we always got a big kick that he made it into into Miss Marvel, and the bigger kick that was in this. So we were very much glued and attentive to all the scenes that he was in, and ultimately I gotta tell you, man, it brought me such great satisfaction, and it's like almost like kind of like an old Hollywood, like he made it. Was the fact that in the end credits, he didn't just get like, okay, and we're just gonna list off a bunch of names. We had like the big artsy kind of like credits where you see like the faces in the cosmos and then like the name on the screen. So the fact that Sagar Shaikh, right there, big movie, Marvel movie. It's like, yeah, I was very proud of him in that moment. So that was good, and he also had like he had a nice memorable gag with Nick Fury. The whole like he's praying in the he's praying in like the little ship in the little escape pod, and he's like, "What are you doing? Are you praying? Well, don't stop, amen." One could say we're proud of his boy.
Yeah.
Yes. So so I just wanted to mention that, but in general, is the fact that Fury has to deal with Kamala's family, and there's a lot of that's just kind of like some cute comedy. I don't think we needed the Florkin kittens. That was a bit much.
That was hilarious. I think the one thing I'll say that's like, it didn't make sense for all the saber people to run because it's like you just say, "Hey, I know it's insane, but trust us. You get absorbed in this kitten." And
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's two things with that bug me. One, what you just said, and two, the fact that every time we've had the Flurkin before, not counting like an object, it kills those people.
Does it?
We've never seen Goose spit them out though. We've seen him spit out objects like the cosmic cube, like spit out the Tesseract, but not people until this movie. So I think that's inconsistent. I don't know.
I don't know. That's not I don't think that's inconsistent. I just think that just wasn't established because people didn't think much about like I think that it was the generic, but like
we established this thing was dangerous. It cut out Fury's eye, much as I hate that, but it cut out Fury's eye. And ate people. That's what we established with that cat. It was a dangerous thing that Talos is wigged out about.
If we saw scenes of like Flurkins just vomiting out people with the first Captain Marvel, this wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't. That's like we never established that. We established this thing's dangerous. It hurt Fury, and that's the thing. We never had like a gag where it spit one out, like knocked out or anything.
I'm just gonna speed dial Kevin, and I'm just gonna tell him, hey, let's greenlight a special presentation that's all about Goose, and it will establish like sort of the anatomy and the mechanics of the Flurkin species, so that way in the future. And like no specifically in between like Captain Marvel the Marvel, so that way you have it, set, boom.
Well, it's too late. The damage has been done. I'm saying it would have been nice to know this in the first Captain Marvel movie. I'm just saying, like this spring, I'm watching this this spring, and like, okay, so I guess they're going to be alive. And look, it plays.
No, because
it plays that early. I'm not saying it didn't come out completely. I know we established that she's the cat spit out the Kree soldiers. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's initially I was like, huh, they live? Like that's like I don't know. We never established that before.
Yeah, because where do they see if they're not dying, if they're not being like decomposed by some gases, where like what are they seeing, or are they are they like comatose or unconscious while they're inside the cat?
We don't know how long those people are in those. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like a very risky, like dangerous thing. Like get eaten by the cats, and we very conveniently like a whole army of these cats.
Oh man! I just thought of this. Oh, the amount of people they're gonna imagine if like when like the universe is about to reset and like Kang Dynasty and like the heroes are trying to survive whatever, and they like all the rafts have went away with people or other heroes, like whoever heroes are remaining, they get absorbed by the Flurkin, and then the Flurkins get onto the raft or ship or whatever as they try to survive, like universes like dying or whatnot.
God.
Kevin just gave you a text. Rohith, that's a great idea.
Stop texting Kevin. I hate it when you text Kevin. So he's going to listen to one of those. It's not going to go well. Anyway. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we should talk. I wonder what your thoughts are on this. Don't encourage him.
You know how like you wrap, how like there's you wrap like a letter or whatever, put it in a glass bottle. For every movie like Feige has a cap. You just have to put the message in the cap, and then he'll read it.
Yeah. Well, that's the notes that he gets after the movie. Someone writes down a little post and puts it in the hat, and that's how Feige gets notes on all the Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
Just goes ahead like a legion of almost like the Hall of Armor, but like a whole like little.
For the Captain Marvel or the Marvel's version of the Feige hat, it has a scroll torture device, and it allows him to access all the memories of like the footage for the current movie and all past movies and future movies, just to like and that helps him to write his write his notes.
That's how he does it. That's everyone. Yeah. How does Feige do it? Well, he has that little scroll device. That's under the hat.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why he's wearing the hat all the time. He's hiding it. That's how anyone asking any questions, you like use a little device, and he gives them the answer.
Yeah.
Yep. Then we reveal Feige's actually a robot named Kevin. He's an algorithm. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm gonna botch the name of this thing. Aladna. Aladna. Thank you, Aladna. So, how do you feel about the singing planet?
Oh, I that was so funny. I was laughing. That's what I told at the beginning, Dragon. the humor is going to be polarizing, and I love the humor in Love and Thunder and Flash. So if that didn't like so anyone that has my sensibilities of humor, whoever's watching this and has agreed with my appreciation of humor in those two films and in this film, you're likely to appreciate the humor in this film. And I think this thing that's going to be, I can understand people not caring for that, but I really liked it. And I think that was kind of like, that's where I felt like, to me, the film was alive in the romp and just the camp of it. And then when it just went into like the sci-fi action adventure stuff, it was like, it's kind of like, okay. This, I felt like, okay, it might not be to anyone's taste, but it's doing something unique and specific. Like, it's not just like, oh, here's a generic alien planet with like very brightly colored dresses. Oh, these people communicate through song. And that's like I would imagine this, like, if say Miss Marvel teamed up with Captain Marvel in a comic, like I could imagine them going to a planet like this. And I think the planet is like this, like if I'm not mistaken.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have an issue necessarily with Aledna, because I just admit it's a little weird, but it's kind of funny though. It's a little weird, but it's it's funny. And particularly, I like the reactions it gets here, where Kamala, this is like the fanfic she'd die for. Essentially, it's going on right now, which I think is hilarious. And it just feels like it feels random, but I'm not critiquing it. The only thing I would take points off for is that it is a bit of an odd transition. Like, okay, here's the happy singing planet, and then we're going to they're going to be in danger because we left them. It's not even like a deal breaker. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It just feels a little bit of a shift there, a bit of a shift from comedy to, okay, then we're going to invest in these guys. We're going to trust them. And they're going to help us save the day. There's going to be a big old battle going on, and we might leave them to die. Who knows? But all of it feels like really weird. Okay, so we wanted to make Captain Marvel a princess, which I mean, it's pretty. It just feels a little It feels a little bit more like Disney marketing. I got to be honest. This scene, it feels a little like it.
I mean, out of all the Marvel characters and properties, I feel like with the fact that the Marvels has like a teenage girl who I think would be very much in love with the idea of Captain Marvel being a princess or being Princess Tyre, like, I think the shoe fits. If it wasn't, say, like, or Captain America, like, I feel like this is where this is appropriate, in my view.
I mean, look, it's I don't really have any issues with it, but I kind of get people saying it's a little incongruous, especially if we're moving at breakneck pace and we're going for like, let's go for the gag before we're going for like, hey, why? Maybe we should spend some time fleshing out some of the Creed stuff.
Yeah, here. No, I will. Yeah, I think for people that want a more serious movie, I think I would understand for them to not be into this movie if they wanted something that.
But admittedly, I don't think anyone went into this really wanting a serious movie. Let's be honest, though. So
I mean, not serious, but like something along not like the literal like Winter Soldier vibes, but something where like, okay, we're dealing with the aftermath of Captain Marvel and progressing. I mean, we are doing this, but that's kind of incidental to like, hey, Brie Larson's a fun actress. She's a great actress. Let's let her have fun in this role, and let's have these two who are fun in their own individual respects have fun with her. And I feel like that was the driving force of this movie. And if you're into that, the movie works for you. If you're not, the movie doesn't work for you.
Jacob, don't rat me out to Kevin. I do. Actually, I do in general. I do have concerns about marketing, but I don't have concerns about the marketing on this one. I thought the marketing was great about this. So then, Jacob, use this. You want to save that comment, use it elsewhere, not now with Feige.
Can you care to elaborate, Dragon?
Anyway,
that was a pregnant pause.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I do appreciate the gag of the prince being bilingual.
Yeah, that's pretty clever spectacular. So that was all for nothing, pretty much, but it was fun. All right, so the new costumes are really cool. Let's mention that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't encourage that. No, we don't need new savings. Go, dear Kevin.
No, it should be Yo Kevin or Call Kevin, and the call is spelled with a K.
Hey, where's the Hat Man at?
to our dear Lord and Savior, KF,
Kevin be that name.
or Kefeg, or Kefi.
Oh, don't come on, don't show
Bye.
some respect.
No, Kev Dog, Kevman, the Kevster, Kevonse,
Oh, come on, I was just lazy. Come on.
Kevano.
Are you done? Are you done embarrassing us? Can we move on?
All right, back to the
Anyway.
Sleeping Planet.
So, well, no, we can move past the singing planet. We had so Darben. So basically, into our climax here. Darben's kind of stupid. You know, it's like we spell out to her while she's pinned, like, hey, you know, she could actually fix your son. And at this point, ultimately, the problem, it's not a problem, bro. It's Darwin's essentially what she's reclaiming with thanks to the jump thing. She's, you know, she's getting water for the plant. She's not really doing anything. I mean, we set up that Aladna is like 80. Is it 80 or 90% water?
It was like 98.93%, which is a very specific statistic from Carol.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So it's like all that water is like, yeah, sure, they could spare some. They'll be fine. So like, we're not really taking anything detrimental until the sun thing comes into play. Like, oh no, we want the sun. Like, okay, so we're gonna have to, you know, that's where we're gonna have to act. But then we presented a really nice solution for the sun thing. Like, yeah, Carol can fix it.
Yeah, my question, I thought it was like, did Carol not know that she could do that?
Well, that's the thing. That's another thing that kind of bothers me. 30 years, she never thought, well, maybe I should try fixing this. What are they going to do? Try and stop me? I'll fix it for them, and at least whether they like me or not, at least it'll be fixed.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have
saved a lot of lives, possibly.
I would have appreciated it if like Carol needed like the additional help of Kamala and Monica to be able to jumpstart the sun. That her power for whatever reason couldn't do that alone.
Do you remember if they said that? Because I don't think they did, but they.
No, I wish that was the case.
Yeah.
Because Monica needed Kamala and Carol's power to be able to fix the jump point. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish the same thing was for Carol, because then it's like, then it would have just it would reinforce the theme of like each heroine relying on the other two.
All right, so Darben's a dummy. She doesn't listen to anything that's being said here very logically, and she destroys herself, basically causing this tear in the universe, which is cool, admittedly, is the fact we got a tear in the universe from the jump point thing, and they have to all use their abilities to stop it, and Monica makes the big sacrifice here. She, which is fitting given how she got her powers in the first place. It's about, you know, kind of going through barriers and stuff, so she's kind of like sealing up the barrier. I thought that was kind of, you know,
yep,
that was fitting. And now Carol, more so, now Carol has to deal with the separation, like the loved one going off on their own and being separated for at least a long time.
And she moved into the Rambo home in Louisiana,
which is nice.
I guess we'll see Carol hang out with Sam if he's ever in Louisiana.
I guess, yeah. So let's see. So Captain Marvel, she goes off. She fixes she fixes things she fixes things on Hala with the sun. It looks like. Kamala, here, do you think Kamala keeps both bangles, or do you think she's just going to keep the one? Like, what do you think? She got them both.
I think she keeps both.
Right? I mean, that thing's a very powerful weapon, though. Like, you think they can trust that with her?
Well, if they didn't, I feel like they would have made a comment about it, or
right.
And also considering, here's the thing: she's kept there's a watchful eye on her, but from Saber and whoever has her, you know. So I think she won't stray too far without anyone noticing. But yeah.
Okay, let's see. So Kamala's got both. Kamala's presumably has both bangles. We set up that she is taking a cue. Hilariously, she's taking a cue from Nick Fury's playbook here. She's building a team, and I love how she coins like the line, "You thought you were alone, didn't you? You thought you're the only superhero. Well, you become part of a bigger universe now."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she's like does not have the cool factor of Nick Fury here, and she She meets Kate Bishop. Man, this is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Bishop. We name drop Cassie Lang, probably the next stop. So yeah, we're fully doing the Young Avengers.
I love the exchange. It's like you thought you were the only kid superhero, and it's like I'm 23. Is like Kate's response, and it's and yeah, I think there will be like if there's a team, it won't be called Young Avengers because then you just kind of like, I think
Why
for
not Young Avengers? What's wrong with Young Avengers?
I feel like people might think it's like okay, you have dark like I think there was a reason to complain in the comics where it's like there's too many Avenger spin-off brand teams and it's like it kind of dilutes the main Avengers brand and considering Marvel's, concerns about the brand itself being, solid and not having to feel like, oh, this is just like franchise, all that stuff. Maybe the name like it'll be Young Avengers and everything but name. I think they'll take like the Champions, which is another teen hero name, and Kamala was part of the Champions, and she's part of the regular Adventure. So I think the Champions title will be put on the team, but in practice, they're going to be Young Avengers team.
All right, we have some comments here. Super Billy in the comments saying, "Hello, hello." And goes on to say, "Spider-Man's too popular for Young Avengers."
Yeah, I don't think there's any expectation he'll show up. Like the quote unquote Young Avengers team will be likely Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop, Cassie, Billy, maybe Tommy. America Chavez.
I mean, assuming she sticks around.
I mean, couldn't. I mean, considering like the fact that she's at the end just like studying with Wong, I wouldn't be surprised if like she comes.
Yeah.
She could come in as like the person that knows magic.
Yeah.
Like, Billy has the magical power, but he doesn't necessarily have the knowledge of it. And considering it's the multiverse saga, having a teen super team, having a character who can go jump in between dimensions and alternate realities would be helpful.
Here's a question: Shuri, where does she fall? She fall in main Avengers, or at least
Main
I think
Avenger.
quotes are Young Avengers.
Main Avenger.
Okay. All right. So, I'm gonna cite a comment here. We got way early, Little Blue. Just to bring it up again. Like I assume you'll talk about the end credit scenes later on in the stream.
Mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, we're later in the stream.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that post-credit scene. Quite a whopper. So we find Monica, unsurprisingly. I figured we're going to check in with where the heck she ended up in, because maybe she's not dead. She's in the multiverse. In fact, she's been found by one of the branch timelines, I suppose. And she is found. She's found and put alongside Binary, who initially we think is her mother. I initially thought we was going into because her death was a little ambiguous in Multiverse of Madness. I mean, she looked pretty dead, but like a big statue fell on her, so it wasn't like dead. It was just like something heavy fell on her. So I thought potentially that was going to be her, but we reveal she's a character called Binary.
Yeah.
And which is it's a heartbreaking moment too, and she just realized, oh my god, I found my dead mother, and then like, oh no, I'm not your mother, but no. Then we have someone to swoop in here. I think a lot of us were expecting maybe Reed Richards, but no, it's much more surprising that it was Beast from the X-Men, but not just any Beast. It was the Kells, man. It's the freaking Kells. Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
Yeah, and he was in CGI, which is interesting.
Yeah.
How'd you think of how Beast looked?
I mean, look, Code Geass anime fan says Kelsey Grammer's Beast made a brief cameo in a film for the second time because Days of Future Past did it first. Yes, in that I can't recall. I'm pretty sure it was practical in that film. I'm pretty sure because you only had to be in there for like one scene. I guess admittedly they could have done that as well here too. That was a few years ago. The point being, I think they did it practically in Days of Future Past. Here we did in CG, and this one feels very much like if we're gonna do them in CG, they're gonna want Beast to do a lot of acrobatics. They're gonna want them in fight scenes and everything. It feels like that's probably why we're doing that.
And you get a little more of a comic book accurate look.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked. I thought it looked fine. I wasn't really going to scrutinize it, but it did definitely feel CG versus it was like we were far off from from let's say like a Thanos or a Smart Hulk in terms of the look on Beast. And would you agree with that? Am I far off? Am I off base on that, or like
No,
what?
I it's like
It feels like this is Marvel bumping up against the VFX guys again, where it's like, yeah, they probably sprung that on the VFX guys.
yeah, or I could see that, and I think part of it also beastism is like all fur,
Mhm.
right? Whereas for
And
Thanos,
fur is notoriously difficult in
yeah,
computer animation.
yeah. I did like that he had like X-Men style shorts. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it was kind of hard to tell. He's mostly framed kind of like waist up, but
And that I think we're in like the end where I think underneath the X mansion in some reality because we see the X doors and it's like, oh,
yeah,
that's
we do. We see it.
we get a name drop of Charles. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like I'm curious. I wonder if like Deadpool 3 will ever touch on that stuff. Maybe that universe that Monica landed in is that universe where Wolverine is that the Wolverine that we see in like the set photos and like if Deadpool 3 is from.
I mean, that would track. We are expected to see. Well, that's the thing. Deadpool's going to be in a very unique and very lucky kind of space where, if anything doesn't track, Deadpool is kind of critic proof in that regard. Well, I guess not less critic proof, continuity proof in that regard because Deadpool's. I suspect what we're going to do is Deadpool either just in jest will be able to get away with anything, or most likely, or I think there's a good chance of it. Deadpool's going to be like the first like addressment of like, okay, we're folding things in, or this is how things are going to work in terms of how we bring the X-Men in, or how we're going to address the X-Men.
Yeah,
Because they're going to have to. Because I mean, we're going to have at least like the Fox X-Men. Whether or not those are going to be like a lot of people are speculating that's going to be a Deadpool kills the Marvel universe only with the X-Men. Deadpool kills the Fox universe, or like the properties that will not be folded into a proper MCU, but Deadpool's probably going to be the one carryover into the MCU, so sort of thing.
mm-hmm.
Like he'll destroy that universe, but he'll end up because he destroyed that universe. He'll end up in the MCU. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, I'm saying, looking at that though, there is a possibility though that this Kelsey Grammer Beast is maybe the '97 X-Men.
I feel like his design would be more like the '90s design. His design is
I don't know. I thought the design looked like the '90s one.
no, because for the '90s design, he has kind of like somewhat Wolverine hair, where his hair kind of tips up, whereas his hair is a little bit more longer. Um,
Yeah. So I'm just trying
it's
to
kind of
think
more
back.
like the X-Men Evolution version of Beast than
Right.
'90s version.
All right. Okay. Fine. Probably not then. Okay. Well, either way, what do you think? Do you think this is going to be like the Fox X-Men Beast?
I mean, the Fox X-Men continuity is not the most cohesive, and
Well, again, for what Deadpool's going to do with it, doesn't
I mean,
need to be. I'm saying, do you think do you think it's going
we'll
to be?
end up in a universe where like the X-Men exist and
Mhm.
like Wolverine. I kind of hope like the universe that Monica ends up is the universe that like the Wolverine that interacts with Deadpool is from. Because
I
like
mean, it feels like if we're going to go out of our way to get Kelsey Grammer in here, it feels like, okay, we're going to try and pull back the X-Men actors that we had in those movies. So it would stand to reason that we're probably going to make that it's going to coincide with that Wolverine.
yeah, and like Beast has like the yellow blue shorts, like Wolverine has the yellow and blue outfit, like
Mhm.
and I think with the fact that like so I know like in the '90s show like Captain Marvel shows up and like
Mhm.
and her big thing is like she gets touched by Rogue and she ends up in a
Well,
coma.
Miss Marvel in that case,
Miss
but yeah.
Marvel, yeah, correct. And in this case with the fact that like Maria Rambeau is like the equivalent of Captain Marvel in
Mhm.
that universe, but it's binary. I like what I like about her outfit is that like in binary it's just kind of like glowing red and it's like surrounded by white straps, and this is like
Mhm.
red and white, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
well,
Let's see. Kogia says, I wonder if they plan on giving Grammer's Beast more to do because he was loved in the role and was only in one film, excluding cameos. Oh, well, that's the thing, though. I mean, I mean, with the advent of CG, I mean, we could technically be having them do anything action-wise, so basically we could get away with it, especially if we're going to CG the stuff on the Kelsey Grammer. But again, I suspect, it'll be like, it feels like it's going to be feeding into closing a book sort of thing, especially if we're going to like eventually get a different Wolverine and a different that. But then with the multiverse, anything's possible, but we haven't quite displayed that yet. That anything's possible. I mean, I know Loki is kind of the most across the board we've gotten seeing variants and stuff. So I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I don't. Given the John Krasinski of it all, given the fact that okay, we're trying to have very different people play these characters when we go to the multiverse.
Yeah.
Then again, we have all these Stephen Stranges that are the same actor. So what does that mean? What does that tell you?
I mean, it tells me that it varies from person to person, right?
Yeah.
So
it's possible, but I'm just saying you can't really predict that sort of thing right now until we do a multiverse thing proper on the big screen. So
yeah.
Sad to say, Doctor Strange didn't quite give us a full depiction on how that might work, but it's
maybe that's where a third Doctor Strange might elaborate that more, especially if it's like going to lead into Kang Dynasty and or Secret Wars. Or direct.
Possibly, but it feels like Doctor Strange has other things on his plate for that movie than the multiverse. But I don't know, because it feels like if we do the multiverse again with Doctor Strange, we put an Aspire movie about the multiverse, again his own movie about the multiverse.
Well, I mean, the post-credit scenes literally like it's like you cause an incursion, and you're gonna help me fix it. You're gonna have to follow up on that platform.
I guess that's fair. It's good. Yeah, you're right, Ace. Yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, let's see. But I mean, I'll say this real quick, so we do have to round things out here. The big thing I call with the Deadpool 3 movie and how things fit in with Logan and everything is that why we have the yellow costume and everything. I'm pretty sure because he has sleeves. The Wolverine costume has sleeves. I know the practical filming purpose for why it has sleeves because Hugh Jackman has skin condition, but I think the story reason potentially why he has sleeves is in the comic book, the in-universe comic book, in Logan. It's a Wolverine costume that looks pretty much exactly like what he's got on, but it has sleeves.
And you know what?
And it had a mask.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen the mask on him yet, but I'm just saying, it stands a reason he's at least good for one scene going to have that mask on, and we're saying perhaps that Logan is a Logan from his adventures before Logan. Sorry, is that Wolverine is the
No, I don't think. I think another theory I think is actually more applicable here is that how people's like in Multiverse of Madness, it was revealed that when people have dreams, they're actually seeing they're seeing through the eyes of other variants throughout the universe. The people who made the comic probably were seeing dreaming of other variants that lived in X-Men universes.
Yeah, but having no idea what they were seeing though.
Yeah, but they just they dreamed of it and they put it down in comic book form.
Well, look, that's a good idea, but I don't think they're going to try and connect those dots. But it's a good idea, though. I think it's good. At the end of the day, I don't even know if they're going to explain what the deal with the costume is, but I would like to think that maybe that's the logic, given that it visually tracks, and they have been very much saying Logan. It sounds like they're saying Logan happened, but this is like somewhere.
Well, or really the Occam's razor. So like X-Men costumes are typically yellow and blue. So X-Men uniforms are typically yellow and blue, especially for Wolverine.
What I'm saying, I'm not saying we have to give it a big old explanation. I'm just saying it'd be kind of. There's a lot of talk about does Logan happen or does it not happen? This is like an early adventure, but then again, Deadpool's killing all the Fox characters. They can't really do that. So I don't know. It doesn't really. It's just gonna be It's gonna be a really good time. I think. Suffice it to say, and he'll be in the costume. So we've checked both boxes there, so I'm looking forward to it. So
we'll revisit this we
don't have to really think about this right now. We'll revisit this about a year from now, or earlier from a year from now. But
8 months,
Well, I'm saying we don't know how they're shooting it now. I don't know how long it's going to take. They shot some of
the dates. The date's set for July 26, 2024. So I'm confident that they'll make it.
Wait, so they set the new date already?
Yeah, the date's July 26, 2024.
I was saying before they said it was up in the air after they announced May, and then
the announcement. The initial tweet was the picture of a dog in a Deadpool costume.
Oh, the dog pool thing had the release date on it?
No, it was summer 2024. The release date was then later confirmed. The release date came out in the Hollywood Reporter article or Deadline, one of the industry articles, and it was July. So Deadpool's coming out July 26, 2024. Fun fact: it's the only MCU movie to come out next year, and the next year has Madam Web, Craven the Hunter, Venom 3. 2025, February 2025 is Captain America: Brave New World. May 2025 is still scheduled Fantastic Four. End of July 2025 is Thunderbolts. November 7th, 2025 is Blade.
Okay. Anywho, let's see. I'm going to try and read off a few of these real quick here. I wonder if Wolverine will be a co-protagonist in Deadpool 3, or if it'll be a supporting player like Garfield and Maguire in No Way Home. They're pretty much selling this like it's going to be the Deadpool Wolverine movie. At the very least, I think Wolverine's going to have a substantial role. If anything else, I think he'll definitely be, because they've been building this for a while. He's got to be. It sounds like it's going to be a buddy movie. That's the presumption I have.
Mm-hmm.
Either that, he might not come in until Act 2, but he'll be from Act 2 to the end of the thing. But I still think he'll be in there like maybe after the first 10 to 15 minutes, he'll probably be in that movie.
Yeah.
So I really hope we get an entirely new cast for an official MCU iteration of the X-Men past the multiverse saga, which again, it sounds like,
No, I think that's going to be the case. Because
yeah, I mean, whether or not Deadpool's going to be like the transition point for that, it's likely, but eventually that will probably be like a new lineup of the X-Men. They're playing really close to the chest. Apparently, they have a plan worked out for the X-Men, but because that's the thing we should talk about, actually, to round things out and get back to the Miss Marvel, the Marvels of it all, is that Kamala is a mutant technically, at least in the MCU.
I mean, she's pretty much confirmed as a mutant.
That's the thing. So yeah, so that's potentially why, of all things, why do we have X-Men? Why do we have Hank in this movie?
Well, also, I mean, in the comics, when Carol Danvers was Marvel, she's had interaction with the X-Men, and she was famously,
So there's a few precedents, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So we have the Miss Marvel thing on 2 levels,
Well, and also she famously lost her. She got into a coma because Rogue, touched her, and that's how Rogue got her flying and strength powers because of Carol Danvers.
So yeah, there's some precedents there, so it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think we're gonna call it there. I think we've had a rousing discussion about the Marvels. I want to thank our commenters who have had quite the debate earlier on there, which we don't really need to get into the nitty gritty of. I mean, I'll say this for Code Geass. Yes, I did like Old Dads. I don't know if it's going to make the list. We have to see what else comes out this year and the remaining stuff. But I don't know, it's going to be a top 20 or so list. So I mean, presumably it will probably find a spot on there. But we'll see. Okay, so I want to thank Little Blue. I want to thank Richard's Victims. I want to thank Code Geass Anime Fan, and of course Super Billy. Oh, and Rohith Dar.
Thanks for the explicit thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, folks. Till next time.
Higher, further, faster.